The notification from my banking app made my stomach drop. Zero balance. I blinked hard, refreshed the screen, and checked again. My entire savings, gone. $78,000 that I'd scraped together over 6 years of overtime shifts and sacrificed vacations vanished overnight. I'm Nadine, and this is how I learned my baby brother was a snake. Van, I screamed, storming down the hallway to his room. The door was locked, but I could hear him shuffling inside. Open this door right now, or I swear to God I'll break it down. The lock clicked, and Van's face appeared in the crack. Guilty, sheepish, but with that hint of defiance I'd grown to hate. Nadine, I can explain. I shoved the door open, nearly knocking him backwards. Explain? Explain how you stole my life savings? How you got into my account? My voice cracked. I trusted you with my password when I was sick last month. I trusted you. I was going to pay it back. Van held up his hands defensively. Maurice gave me this sure thing. Odds were perfect. Maurice? I laughed bitterly. That loan shark you've been hanging around with? The one Mom warned you about? He's not a loan shark. He's an investment specialist. Stop lying. I grabbed his collar, forcing him to look at me. How much did you lose? The silence stretched between us until he whispered, all of it. My knees went weak. I released him and stumbled backward until I hit the wall. I was saving that money for Dad's medical treatments if his cancer comes back. I know. Van ran his hands through his hair. But Maurice promised, what's all this shouting about? Mom appeared in the doorway, still wearing her nurse's scrubs from her night shift. Nadine, why are you attacking your brother? He stole my money, Mom. All of it. $78,000. Mom's face paled, but when she spoke, her voice was measured. Van, is this true? I was trying to help. Van's eyes filled with tears. Always the performer. I wanted to double it for Dad's treatments. Maurice said, oh, honey. Mom wrapped her arms around him and something inside me snapped. Are you kidding me? I pushed off the wall. He steals my money, gambles it away, and you're comforting him? Nadine. Mom sighed. He made a mistake, but he's your brother and he was trying to help. Help? Help? I grabbed my phone, pulling up my empty account. Look at this, Mom. Everything I worked for gone. And you're making excuses for him? We'll figure something out. Mom said softly. Van will get a job. Start paying you back. Van nodded eagerly. I will, I promise. Just give me time. Time? I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign. Like the time you needed last year when you borrowed $2,000 and never paid it back? Or the time before that when you took my car and totaled it? That's enough. Mom stepped between us. We're family. We forgive each other. Your father would want... Don't. I held up my hand. Don't you dare use Dad to justify this. I turned and walked out, ignoring their calls. In my room, I grabbed my keys and wallet, needing to escape. As I reached the front door, Mom caught up. Where are you going? To see Clifford. Nadine, please. She grabbed my arm. Van feels terrible. He'll make it right. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman who'd raised us alone after Dad got sick, who worked double shifts to keep us fed, who taught me about strength and dignity. Now she stood there defending the indefensible. You know what's funny, Mom? I kept my voice steady. You always told me to be strong, to stand up for myself, but when it comes to Van, you want me to be weak, to let it go, to forgive and forget while he takes and takes and takes. He's your brother, and I'm your daughter. I pulled my arm free. But somehow that's never quite enough, is it? The drive to Clifford's apartment was a blur. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. What happened? I told him everything, the words pouring out between sobs. When I finished, he handed me a tissue and waited. What are you going to do? He asked finally. I wiped my eyes, something cold and hard settling in my chest. You know what happens when you enable someone, Cliff? They never learn. They never change. They just keep taking until there's nothing left. Nadine, Van needs to learn actions have consequences. I pulled out my phone, opening a saved article about a recent lottery scandal. And I know exactly how to teach him. Clifford's eyes widened as I outlined my plan. That's diabolical. No, I corrected him, a smile playing at my lips. That's karma. You're sure this will work? Clifford asked, carefully examining the lottery ticket under his desk lamp. The forgery was perfect, identical to the real thing, down to the holographic security strip. It has to, I replied, watching him work. Van's been playing the same numbers for months. Birthday combinations, just like Dad used to do. All we need is for him to find this ticket and think his luck has finally turned. 2 weeks had passed since Van emptied my account. 2 weeks of avoiding family dinners, ignoring Mom's calls, and planning every detail of my revenge. The fake ticket had cost me $500. Steep, but worth every penny. And you're absolutely sure about the numbers? Clifford double-checked the sequence. Trust me, I've heard him recite them enough times. 7, 13, 23. I get it. He held up his hand. The less I know about the actual numbers, the better. Plausible deniability and all that. I leaned back in his office chair, spinning slowly. Having second thoughts? About helping my best friend get justice? Never. He slipped the ticket into an envelope. I just want to make sure you've thought this through. Once we start, there's no going back. He needs to understand what it feels like, I said, stopping the chair. To think you have everything, then lose it all because of someone else's actions. Clifford nodded, but his expression remained concerned. What about your mom? What about her? The bitterness crept into my voice. She made her choice. She always chooses him. Nadine, don't. I stood up. Let's just do this. The plan was simple. Van always bought his lottery tickets at Jerry's corner store. Every Wednesday, like clockwork. Today was Tuesday, and I knew exactly where to plant the fake ticket. We drove to the store just before closing. While Clifford kept watch, I slipped behind the newspaper stand where Van always checked his numbers. The envelope, slightly weathered and dirty to look like it had been lost, fit perfectly in the gap between the stand and the wall. Done, I whispered, returning to Clifford's car. Now we wait. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Van found a winning lottery ticket. Come home, he wants to tell everyone the good news. I smiled, showing Clifford the message. Hook, line, and sinker. When we arrived at the house, Van was practically bouncing off the walls. Nadine! He rushed to hug me, but I stepped back. His face fell slightly, but his excitement couldn't be contained. I know things have been rough, but this changes everything. I won. I actually won. Won what? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. The lottery. He waved the ticket, my ticket, in the air. $4.2 million, can you believe it? Mom appeared from the kitchen, beaming. Isn't it wonderful? Now he can pay you back. And then some. Show me the ticket, I said, holding out my hand. Van hesitated for a split second before passing it over. I examined it carefully, pretending to check the numbers against the ones displayed on my phone. Wow, that's incredible. I know. Van grabbed the ticket back. I'm going to make everything right, sis, I promise. First thing I'll do is pay you back double what I took. No, triple. When do you collect? Clifford asked innocently. Tomorrow morning? Van was practically vibrating. The lottery office opens at 9. I already called them. We should celebrate, Mom suggested. I'll make your favorite dinner, Van. And Nadine, please stay. We need to be together as a family right now. I watched as she hugged Van again, as he started listing all the things he'd buy, all the investments he'd make. The perfect son, reformed by luck. My phone buzzed. A text from Clifford. You okay? I typed back. Perfect. He's already planning how to spend money he'll never get. What are you smiling about? Van asked, noticing my expression. Just happy for you. I lied smoothly. Karma works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? Speaking of karma, Van lowered his voice. I need to call Maurice, let him know I can pay off what I owe. He's been persistent lately. I saw Mom flinch at Maurice's name, but she quickly covered it with another smile. Let's not worry about that now. This is a celebration. As they moved to the kitchen, discussing plans and dreams that would never materialize, Clifford caught my eye. I nodded slightly, answering his unspoken question. Yes, I was ready for what would happen tomorrow. Yes, I could handle seeing my brother's world crash down around him. Because sometimes the only way to teach someone about loss is to let them experience it themselves. I'm thinking of buying Mom a house. Van announced over breakfast the next morning. Something with a garden, like she always wanted. And maybe a vacation home in Florida? Mom wiped happy tears from her eyes. Oh, honey, you don't have to. I want to. Van pushed his untouched eggs around his plate. After everything you've done for us. And Nadine. He turned to me. I know a house won't make up for what I did, but let's wait until you actually have the money. I cut in, checking my watch. Shouldn't you be heading to the lottery office? Right. He jumped up, nearly knocking over his coffee. Mom, you're coming with me, right? Of course, sweetie. She grabbed her purse. Nadine, are you sure you don't want to come? I shook my head. I have to work, but call me when it's done. As their car pulled away, I texted Clifford. They're gone. Come pick me up. We followed at a safe distance, parking across the street from the lottery office. Through the glass windows, I could see Van and Mom waiting in line, the fake ticket clutched in his hands. How long do you think it'll take? Clifford asked. Not long. I pulled out my phone to record. They'll scan the ticket, realize it's fake, and then... The door burst open. Van stormed out, Mom hurrying behind him. They're saying it's fake, he shouted, loud enough for us to hear through the car windows. That's impossible. It has to be real. Sir, a security guard followed them out. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. No, check it again. Van tried to push past him. There must be some mistake. Van, please. Mom grabbed his arm. You're making a scene. I don't care. He shook her off. That ticket is worth millions. I need that money. I promised Maurice. The security guard stepped closer. Sir, final warning. Leave now or I'm calling the police. Van's face crumpled. He looked at the ticket, then at Mom, then back at the ticket. Without warning, he took off running down the street. Van. Mom called after him. Where are you going? But he was already gone. Mom stood there looking lost before slowly walking to her car. Should we follow him? Clifford asked. No need. I checked my phone. I know exactly where he's going. We drove to Jerry's corner store, arriving just as Van burst out the door. It was right here, he was saying to the confused store owner. I found it behind the newspaper stand. Someone must have dropped it. Son, the owner shook his head. If someone had bought a winning ticket here, I'd know about it. We haven't sold any jackpot winners in months. Van's phone rang. He answered it, his face going pale. Maurice, I can explain. No, please, I just need more time. I swear I'll get your money. I couldn't hear Maurice's response, but Van's reaction told me everything. He slumped against the wall, sliding down until he sat on the sidewalk, head in his hands. Satisfied? Clifford asked quietly. Not yet. I got out of the car, walking toward my brother. He looked up as my shadow fell over him. Nadine, what are you doing here? Watching karma in action. I sat beside him. How does it feel, Van? To think you had everything, then lose it all in an instant? He stared at me, realization dawning in his eyes. You did this? The ticket was fake. I had it made, planted it where I knew you'd find it. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you do this to me? Why did you steal my savings? I countered. Do you know what it felt like seeing my account empty? All my hard work gone because my brother decided his gambling debt was more important than his sister's future? I was desperate. Maurice was threatening, and now he's threatening again. I stood up. Funny how that works, isn't it? Actions have consequences, Van. Maybe now you'll finally understand that. Please. He grabbed my hand. Help me. Maurice is serious this time. He said if I don't pay by tomorrow, figure it out yourself. I pulled away. That's what I have to do, thanks to you. As I walked back to Clifford's car, I heard Van call after me. Mom was right about you. You're cruel. You're heartless. I paused, turning back. No, Van. I'm just done enabling you. Maybe it's time Mom learned to do the same. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Van, still sitting on the sidewalk, staring at the worthless ticket in his hands. The call started at midnight. First Mom, then Van, then Mom again. I let them all go to voicemail, but each message was more desperate than the last. Nadine, please. Mom's voice cracked through the speaker. Van's missing. He's not answering his phone. After what happened at the lottery office, I deleted the message and poured another glass of wine. Clifford sat across from me on my small apartment balcony, his expression troubled. You should at least let them know you're okay, he suggested. Why? They never checked if I was okay when Van stole my money. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from my Aunt Vivienne. Your mother's worried sick. What's going on? Before I could respond, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Mom, her eyes red from crying. I know you're in there, Nadine, she called through the door. Please, we need to talk. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. There's nothing to talk about. Van took out loans, she blurted out. Big ones. He thought he could pay them back with the lottery money, but now... She wrung her hands. He's in trouble, Nadine. Real trouble. That's not my problem. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter, I snapped. But that didn't stop you from dismissing my feelings when he stole my savings, did it? Mom flinched. I know I made mistakes, but... Mrs. Scott? A deep voice interrupted from the hallway. We turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit. I'm Maurice. I believe you know why I'm here. Mom stepped in front of me protectively. My son isn't here. Oh, I know. Maurice smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. But since he's not answering his phone, I thought I'd have a chat with his family instead. Clifford appeared behind me. I think you should leave. I will. Maurice pulled out a business card, holding it out. But first, a friendly reminder. Van owes me $150,000. The clock's ticking. He doesn't have it, Mom whispered. Then I suggest you find a way to get it. Maurice's smile disappeared. I'm not a patient man, and your son's already tested my patience. After he left, Mom collapsed onto my couch, shaking. What are we going to do? We? I laughed bitterly. There is no we in this situation. How can you be so cold? She looked up at me. Van could be in real danger. Van put himself in danger, I shouted. He stole my money, gambled it away, then borrowed more thinking a miracle would save him. When does it end, Mom? When do you stop cleaning up his messes? I have to protect him. Who protected me? My voice broke. When I lost everything I saved for Dad's treatments, who protected me? The silence stretched between us. Finally, Mom stood up, straightening her shoulders. I'm going to remortgage my house, she announced. It should cover most of what he owes. Are you insane? I grabbed her arm. You'll lose everything. He's my son. And you're my mother. I released her, stepping back. But you're so busy saving Van that you can't see you're destroying yourself. And me. My phone buzzed. A text from Van. At the casino. One last chance to win it all back. Don't tell Mom. I showed Mom the message. The color drained from her face. Oh, God, she whispered. He's going to make it worse. Of course he is, I said, because he knows you'll bail him out. You always do. Clifford, who'd been quietly watching, finally spoke up. Maybe that's the real problem here. Van never faces consequences because he's never had to. Mom sank back onto the couch. I thought I was helping him. You weren't, I said softly. You were teaching him that his actions don't have consequences, that someone will always clean up his messes. Like you taught him with the fake lottery ticket? She looked at me accusingly. No, I corrected her. I taught him how it feels to have everything taken away. The same lesson he taught me. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Van. Just lost another 10K. Maurice's guys are here. Help. I showed Mom the message. She reached for her car keys, but I stopped her. Don't, I said. Let him face this one on his own. They'll hurt him. Maybe, I admitted. Or maybe he'll finally learn that his choices have real consequences. Mom stared at me, tears streaming down her face. When did you become so hard? The day I realized being soft only gets you taken advantage of. I opened my door. Go home, Mom. Let Van figure this out himself. As she left, I turned to Clifford. Am I doing the right thing? He squeezed my shoulder. Sometimes the right thing feels wrong. Doesn't make it any less right. My phone kept buzzing, but I turned it off. Tonight, Van would learn what rock bottom feels like, just like I did. The hospital called at 3 a.m. Van had been found in the casino parking lot, beaten but alive. 2 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and enough bruises to paint a masterpiece of poor choices. I stood in the doorway of his hospital room, watching him sleep. Mom dozed in the chair beside him, her hand clutching his uninjured one. The morning sun cast harsh shadows across his battered face. Your brother's lucky, the nurse said, checking his vitals. Could have been much worse. Lucky. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Van's eyes fluttered open. Nadine? His voice was hoarse. You came. Mom called. I stayed by the door. Said Maurice's guys worked you over pretty good. They said it was just a warning. He tried to sit up, wincing. I need to find a way to pay them back, or next time... There won't be a next time. Mom straightened in her chair, fully awake now. I'm selling the house. Mom, no. Yes. Her voice was firm. I'll pay off Maurice and then you're going to rehab. For gambling addiction. Van's face crumpled. I don't need rehab. I can fix this. Like you fixed my savings? I stepped closer. Or the fake lottery ticket. How's that working out for you? Nadine, Mom warned. No, she's right. Van looked away. I screwed up again. But Mom, you can't sell the house. That's your home. Should have thought about that before you borrowed money from a loan shark. Nadine, Mom stood up. That's enough. Is it? I turned to her. Because from where I'm standing, you're about to lose everything to save someone who never learns, who keeps taking and taking until there's nothing left. He's hurt. Because of his own choices. I gestured at Van's injuries. And now you want to sacrifice your home? The home you and Dad worked so hard for? The room fell silent at the mention of Dad. Van's monitors beeped steadily in the background. What would Dad say? I asked quietly. If he saw what Van's done, what you're willing to give up to enable him? Mom sank back into her chair. I don't know what else to do. Let me face it, Van said suddenly. The consequences. All of it. Maurice will hurt you again, Mom protested. Good. Van's voice strengthened. Maybe I need that. Maybe I need to hit rock bottom without anyone cushioning the fall. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maurice stood there, flanked by 2 men who looked like they bench-pressed cars for fun. Touching family reunion, he drawled. But business is business. Where's my money? Mom reached for her purse. I have the paperwork to sell my house. No. Van struggled to sit up. Maurice, this is between you and me. Leave my family out of it. Should have thought of that before you borrowed from me. Maurice stepped into the room. But I'm feeling generous. Give me the house and we'll call it even. Like hell you will. I moved between Maurice and Mom. You want to talk business? Let's talk. I have a proposition for you. Maurice raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. I have some savings bonds. About $50,000 worth. I'll cash them in, give you that as a down payment. Van works for you. Legitimate work, not gamblings, until he pays off the rest. Nadine, no. Van tried to get up but fell back, gasping in pain. Those bonds are all you have left. Shut up, Van. I kept my eyes on Maurice. Do we have a deal? Maurice studied me for a long moment. Your brother works for me. Minimum wage until the debt's cleared. Every penny goes to me. He steps out of line once, the deal's off. And you leave my mother's house alone. Deal. Maurice smiled his shark smile. Welcome to the family business, Van. Once you're healed up, we'll put you to work cleaning my clubs. Nothing builds character like scrubbing toilets. After Maurice left, Mom burst into tears. Nadine, you can't. Already did. I turned to Van. This is your last chance. Screw it up and you're on your own, completely. Van nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry. For everything. I'll make it right, I swear. No, I corrected him. You'll make it even. And you'll do it one toilet at a time. As I left the hospital room, I heard Mom following me. Why? She asked. After everything he did, why help him? I stopped, turning to face her. Because someone needs to show him there's a difference between enabling and helping, between avoiding consequences and facing them. And the bonds? Consider it an investment. I smiled grimly. In watching Van learn what real work feels like. Mom hugged me suddenly, fiercely. When did you become so wise? Around the same time I got tired of being foolish. I hugged her back. Now we just have to hope Van does the same. 3 months passed. Van worked every day at Maurice's clubs, coming home with bleach-stained hands and a humbled expression. I kept my distance, getting updates from Mom about his progress in rehab and work. Then came the family dinner invitation. Please come. Mom pleaded over the phone. Van wants to talk to everyone. He's been working so hard. That's how I found myself sitting at our old dinner table, watching Van serve pasta he'd made himself. Aunt Vivian sat beside me while Clifford had come for moral support. The tension could have been cut with the butter knife. So, Van cleared his throat, standing at the head of the table. I asked you all here because I have something to say. He pulled out a wrinkled envelope. This is my first real paycheck from Maurice. After 3 months of work, I've paid off about $12,000 of my debt. That's wonderful, honey. Mom started, but Van held up his hand. Let me finish. He opened the envelope, removing several smaller ones. I've divided this check into parts. First, he handed me an envelope. This is the beginning of paying you back, Nadine. It's not much, but it's a start. I opened it. $500. Not even 1% of what he owed me, but the gesture wasn't lost on me. Second, he continued, this is for Mom's electricity bill, which I noticed was overdue. He passed her an envelope. And this one's for Aunt Vivian, for the time I borrowed money and never paid back. Vivian took her envelope, tears in her eyes. But most importantly, Van's voice cracked. I need to say something. The fake lottery ticket? It was the wake-up call I needed. Nadine, what you did was cruel, but it was exactly what I deserved. Van, Mom started. No, Mom. Let me own this. He gripped the back of his chair. Every day at work, scrubbing toilets and mopping floors, I think about how I hurt everyone. How I took advantage of your love, your trust. The lottery ticket showed me what it feels like to have hope ripped away. Just like I did to Nadine. The room fell silent. I stared at my plate, fighting back tears. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Van continued. I haven't earned it yet. But I want you all to know I'm trying. Really trying. The rehab program, the work, it's hard, but it's honest. And for the first time in my life, I'm facing my problems instead of running from them. Or gambling them away, Clifford muttered. I kicked him under the table. Yeah, or that. Van managed a small smile. Maurice says I'm the first person who's ever voluntarily worked off their debt. Says it shows character. It does, Vivian agreed. Your father would be proud. No, Van shook his head. Dad would be ashamed of what I did, but maybe he'd be proud of what I'm trying to do now. I stood up suddenly, my chair scraping against the floor. Everyone turned to look at me. Nadine? Mom's voice was worried. I walked to Van, pulling out my phone. You want to know what real karma looks like? I showed him the screen. A video of him finding the fake ticket, celebrating, then breaking down outside the lottery office. You recorded it? He looked hurt. I did, because I wanted to watch you suffer. I deleted the video. But that person, the one who wanted revenge, I don't want to be her anymore. And I don't want to be the person who made you become her. Van replied softly. I hugged him then, for the first time since he'd stolen my money. He stiffened in surprise, then hugged back carefully, mindful of his still healing ribs. This doesn't mean I forgive you, I whispered. I know. And you're still paying back every penny. I know that too. I pulled back, wiping my eyes. But it's a start. Mom was openly crying now, and even Clifford looked moved. Vivienne raised her glass. To new beginnings, she toasted. And hard lessons, Van added, raising his water glass. No more alcohol for him, part of his recovery. As we ate dinner, the conversation slowly became more natural. Van told stories about the characters he met at work, about his progress in rehab, about his plans to take night classes once he paid off his debt. Looking around the table, I realized something had shifted. The anger that had driven me to create the fake ticket had transformed into something else. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe understanding, maybe hope. You okay? Clifford asked quietly. I nodded, watching Van clear the dishes, something he'd never done before. I think we all are, or at least we're getting there. Sometimes I realized karma works in unexpected ways, and sometimes the path to healing starts with a lie that reveals the truth. 6 months after the family dinner, I walked into Maurice's club for the first time. The place was empty, chairs still stacked on tables, but spotlessly clean. Van was behind the bar, counting inventory. Surprise inspection? He asked, not looking up. Actually, I'm here to see Maurice. I perched on a bar stool. Is he around? Van's head snapped up. Why? Is something wrong? No. I pulled out an envelope. I want to discuss paying off the rest of your debt. Nadine, no. Van came around the bar. I'm handling it. I've already paid off almost $40,000. And you have $110,000 to go. I pushed the envelope toward him. At this rate, you'll be working here for the next decade. Maybe I should. He straightened some already straight bottles. Maybe I need that time to really learn. You've learned. I cut him off. I've watched you these past months, working here, going to rehab, taking those online business classes. You're different. Thanks to you, he said quietly. That fake ticket, it changed everything. Mr. Mason will see you now. A bouncer appeared, gesturing toward the office. Maurice's office was exactly what you'd expect. All leather and dark wood, trying too hard to look important. He smiled when I entered. Nadine, my favorite sister of my favorite employee. He gestured to a chair. What brings you to my humble establishment? I placed the envelope on his desk. I want to buy out Van's contract. Maurice's smile didn't waver. That's a lot of money. Where'd you get it? I sold my condo. I met his gaze steadily. It's all there. $110,000. The rest of what Van owes you. Interesting. He opened the envelope, counting methodically. Your brother's been good for business, you know. Never complains, works hard. Even gave me some solid ideas for improving operations. I know. That's why he deserves a fresh start. Maurice leaned back. And if I refuse, if I want to keep him working here, then I walk out with my money and Van keeps working off his debt. I stood up. But we both know you're a businessman. This is a good deal. He laughed suddenly. You know, you and your brother are nothing alike. He's all emotion. You're all calculation. We're more alike than you think. I headed for the door. We both learn from our mistakes. Wait. Maurice held up the envelope. Deal. But on one condition, Van keeps his job. As a real employee with real wages. Like I said, he's good for business. I found Van still at the bar, pretending to work while obviously waiting for news. You're free, I told him. Well, sort of. Maurice wants to keep you on as a regular employee. Van stared at me. You sold your condo? Nadine, that was your home. It was an investment property. I shrugged. Besides, I've been staying at Clifford's so much anyway. But why? Van's voice cracked. After everything I did, because you're my brother. I sat down. And because watching you work your ass off these past months showed me something. You're not the same person who stole my savings, who gambled everything away. Thanks to your revenge plot. He smiled weakly. Yeah, about that. I pulled out my phone, showing him a banking app. Remember those savings bonds I cashed in to help you? The ones you gave Maurice as down payment? Of course, I've been killing myself trying to pay you back for those too. They weren't real. I watched his face. I never had savings bonds. I lied to Maurice, bought myself time to sell the condo. Van's jaw dropped. You played Maurice? With another fake story? Karma's funny that way. I stood up. Now we're even. No more lies, no more debts, no more revenge. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep working hard. Say you'll stay clean. Say you'll be the brother I always knew you could be. He hugged me then, smelling of cleaning supplies and honest work. I will. I promise. No more shortcuts, no more gambling, no more taking advantage. Good. I pulled back. Because if you ever pull something like this again, you'll come up with an even more elaborate revenge scheme? Worse. I smiled. I'll tell Mom. We both laughed, the sound echoing through the empty club. Maurice watched from his office doorway, shaking his head. You two are something else, he called out. Now get back to work, Van. Those glasses won't polish themselves. As I left the club, I felt lighter. The anger that had driven me to create the fake lottery ticket had transformed into something else. Pride in my brother's changes, hope for our future, and maybe, just maybe, the beginnings of trust again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's giving someone the chance to become better than they were, even if it takes a fake lottery ticket to get there. Are you sure about this? Clifford asked, helping me carry the last box into my new apartment. It's smaller than your old condo. It's perfect. I set the box down, surveying the cozy space. Besides, the rent's reasonable and it's close to work. The doorbell rang. Van stood there with Mom and Aunt Vivienne carrying takeout and champagne. Housewarming party, Mom announced, setting up containers of Chinese food on my new kitchen counter. Though I still think you could have kept your condo. Mom, Van interrupted. We talked about this. Nadine made her choice. I know. She started distributing plates. I just worry. About everything. Vivienne finished, popping the champagne. Let the girl live her life, Noelle. She's doing fine. Better than fine, actually. Selling the condo had freed me in ways I hadn't expected. The money had cleared Van's debt, yes, but it had also cleared my heart of the last traces of bitterness. Before we eat, Van pulled out an envelope. I have something for you. Inside was a check, his first full paycheck as Maurice's legitimate employee, along with a handwritten note. First of many. Thank you for not giving up on me. Van, don't say I don't have to. He cut me off. I want to. Maurice is paying me well, and every extra penny goes to paying you back. It's non-negotiable. Speaking of Maurice, Clifford grabbed plates. How's the promotion going? Van grinned. Assistant manager now. Turns out I have a knack for business when I'm not trying to gamble it all away. He helped Mom distribute the food. Actually, that's not the only news I have. Oh? Vivienne raised an eyebrow. I've been talking to Dad's old oncologist, Van said quietly. About setting up a fund for families who can't afford treatment, using part of my salary. The room went silent. Mom's eyes filled with tears. That's that's wonderful, honey. It was Nadine's savings that made me think of it. Van continued. How she was saving for Dad's treatments in case, well, and I stole that from her, from everyone who might have needed it. So you're making it right? I said softly. Trying to. He smiled. The oncologist says even a small fund could help families cover medication costs, transportation to treatments. Your father would be so proud, Vivian whispered. Both of you, Mom added, looking between us. He'd be proud of both of you. Even after everything? I asked. The fake ticket, the revenge. Especially after that, Vivian answered. Because look what came from it. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom to start climbing back up. To new beginnings, Clifford raised his champagne glass. And old lessons, Van added. As we ate, laughing and sharing stories, I realized something profound. The fake lottery ticket hadn't just taught Van about consequences, it had taught all of us something. Mom learned about enabling, I learned about forgiveness, and together we learned that family isn't about blindly accepting bad behavior. It's about helping each other grow, even when that help comes in unexpected forms. Hey, Van nudged me. Remember what you said that day at the club? About us being even? Yeah? We're not, though. He looked around at our family. We never will be. Because what you did, the tough love, the fake ticket, selling your condo, it didn't just save me from Maurice. It saved me from myself. Well, I smiled. Maybe next time just listen when I tell you gambling is a bad idea? Next time? He laughed. Trust me, there won't be a next time. One elaborate revenge scheme from my sister is enough for one lifetime. Good. I hugged him, because I'm all out of fake lottery tickets. Mom watched us with tears in her eyes, but this time they were happy tears. Vivian raised her glass again. To karma, she toasted, both the fake kind and the real kind. To family, Mom added. To truth, Van said. To consequences, Clifford chimed in. I looked around at my smaller apartment, filled with the people I loved most. People who had hurt me. People I had hurt back. People who had grown stronger through that pain. To second chances, I said finally, and making them count. The sun set outside my new windows, casting warm light across our gathering. In that moment, I knew that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's watching someone transform their rock bottom into a foundation for something better. And sometimes, just sometimes, a fake lottery ticket can lead to real redemption.